Board. Okay. And here we are with the first overhead. So I want to thank you to start with for attending the webinar. I respect your time. It's a Sunday morning and I appreciate your willingness to spend 60 minutes with me. And I promise to deliver on what I say, that you can spend your way to wealth and abundance. I'm going to break up some myths along the way and provide content that you can put to use immediately. Some people did ask questions ahead of time and I answered them by email already. Now you can also ask questions in the chat box. I'm going to figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Well, I don't know if I can. Let's see, let's try something else. Chat, I'm gonna bring up the chat box. If you're able to see the chat box, let me have you say yes in the chat box. The chat box is below, right about here for most of you. And so if you tap on it and pull it up, just let me know. Great. Thank you, Debbie. Michelle, terrific. Gina, did you find it? Because I'm going to be asking for, I'm going to do a couple surveys. Thank you, Gina. And I want to get your feedback on stuff. Okay, so we found the chat box. So let's get to the next slide. And every time when I work this, something seems to stop and the thing doesn't move forward. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And I'm hoping maybe if I tap it long enough, it'll go to the next slide. There we go. So I'm saying spend money to create wealth. Now that may not sound like it makes sense, but I've made millions of dollars from this approach. And so believe me, it works for me and it works for my clients. Like I said, I'm going to bust some myths. And here's the first one. A lot of people think it takes money to make money. Now, I'm not one of these internet superstars that makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year or $1 million a year in my business. When I was working, I was averaging between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. But from that, I've been able to make investments that now produce a passive income of about $500,000 a year. So I never really earned a lot of money working, but I made investments that paid off very well for me. So the point is, it is not true. You don't need money to make money. As an example, if you don't have money to invest right now, or not much money at all, you're in the right place, so stick around. This webinar is decidedly not just for the wealthy, it's for regular people and business owners like you. As an example of one way you can do this, you can partner with someone who has money. You can provide your time and talents, someone else puts up the money, and you share the income and the profits 50-50. Also, for all of you on the webinar, at the end, I'm going to give you a link to download a free attendance gift. It's based on the book Change Anything, and it'll show you the 6 ingredients that'll allow you to create anything you want in your life. And it has nothing to do with willpower. It's called 3 Win-Win Ways for Other People to Help You Create Wealth, even though when you get the gift, you'll see there's 4 winning ways. Now, the free gift is about everyone rowing together in the same boat toward rapid financial freedom and wealth, and it has some great insights on what I call everybody wins wealth building. So stick around. You're going to love getting your hands on that gift. Now, take out a pen and paper, and let's start taking some notes on what I'm about to share. Oh, the first thing is the tortoise and the hare. I don't know if you've heard this before, but you may be aware that there are people who like to just jump right in and hear the content, and there are other people who want to hear some background and build up to it. Those are the tortoises. So I'm going to do my best to appeal to both the tortoise and the hare kind of personalities. And so I need those of you that feel like you're a rabbit to just be a little bit patient right now. So now, To build wealth, you need three things. I call it AFI, and that's not for American Film Institute, but that is for attitudes, that is for forms, and I mean the forms that the wealthy people use, not just using them, but what to look for on them. And the last thing of the AFI are investments. In other words, where do you put the money that fits who you are as a person? So you want to invest the way the wealthy people do, which is not stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. That's not what it's limited to. If I were to go into detail on all three of these areas, we'd be having an 8-hour webinar or more. And frankly, unless you understand and adopt the attitude of the wealthy and nail that down, the forms and investments won't work anyway. So the first way to spend your way to wealth and abundance is to have the right mindset, and we're going to focus on that first. Once you get that attitude and mindset, then it's easy to learn the rest. So let's talk about the importance of attitude and why I believe it's the right place to start. Thinking like a wealthy person is important because it's the only thing that'll get you out of any financial stress. If you don't have a wealthy person's mindset, it's like the guy in the suit trying to drive a little car with no steering wheel. Trying to create wealth without the thought patterns of a wealthy person is like the guy with the little car. You're really not going to get anywhere. So why do you think 70% of the lottery winners are broke within 3 years? They did not have a wealthy mindset, and they just kept driving around without the steering wheel, getting nowhere, and blowing their winnings. There are so many examples, but here are two. You've got a $10 million lottery winner now living paycheck to paycheck and taking the bus to a part-time job to pay her rent. Take a look at that car behind her. That is not the kind of car a person with a wealthy mindset would buy. And here's a $315 million Powerball winner who now claims he's out of money. The wealthy mindset is about knowing what to do with the money before you have it, and more money does not solve a problem of either poor mindset or poor money management any more than poor liquor will cure an alcoholic. To paraphrase a quote from Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So here's the bottom line. The wealthy don't think like the rest of us. They're in control of their own mind and have a belief and a confidence in themselves. When I first start coaching people, often I have to first deal with what other people may have told them about what they can or can't do and break up that thinking. We work on a change in their attitude about what they're capable of in terms of building their business or building wealth. So you have to have that inner confidence. But what else do you have to have? Again, you need to adopt the attitudes that wealthy people have. And the first area is people think thoughts are powerful. So this is where we're going to have a little survey. So let me have you go into the chat box and let me have you answer the question, do you think thoughts are powerful? Okay, Rita says yes, definitely. Gina says yes. Michelle says most definitely. Debbie says, okay, so it looks like it's unanimous. You think thoughts are powerful. Terrific. Let's get to the next slide. No, let me ask another question first. Let me go back to the chat box. Okay, how many of you have ever had a thought that you'd like to lose weight? Okay, yeah. Okay, sure. Okay, yeah, okay, fine. So you've had this thought you might like to lose weight. Now you're probably aware that to lose weight, the only major ingredients are eat less and exercise. So I'm not sure how thinking about it has helped you, but let's talk about something that might be getting in the way. So let's say that I thought I'd like to lose some weight and I could go jogging in the morning. So I set the alarm for 5 o'clock, and some of you might know what it's like at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's dark, it's cold, and it's more likely I'll just feel like staying under the covers. And the point is, the thought is powerless when it comes to comparing it to the feelings. That feeling that I'd rather just stay under the covers or I could do this later is going to blow that thought right out of the water. So what do the wealthy do? They operate from their values. That's the thing that'll override the feelings. So you can use your values to overcome feelings that might block you. Now, in my book and in my workshops, we have exercises for you to identify your values. In my jogging example, if integrity were one of my values, and I told a neighbor that I'd show up at 6 a.m. so we could go jogging together, if I didn't feel like getting up, what do you think I'd do? Well, I would get up and I'd honor what I said because I'd be operating from my values. And that feeling of operating from my values will get me out of my warm bed. So once you identify your values, that's what you can lean on to move forward and achieve your goals. So, what's another attitude that the wealthy have? It's the attitude of thinking from the big picture versus the details. They focus on the mindset. The details are like what I call the ship is sinking, let's move the deck chairs attitude. Let's say your company's finances and sales results are poor. You've always got one guy who runs around freaking out that they're spending too much on office supplies like staples or coffee filters. And, you know, instead of getting on the phone and focusing on getting more customers and growing the revenue. Here's a big picture example or a detailed example in real estate. Let's say you have the opportunity to buy a house as an investment, but you notice the paint is peeling, the faucet's dripping, the carpet's frayed. Those are details. The big picture is that the house is in a great neighborhood and it's priced below market values. A realtor friend of mine said just the other day, I can't tell you how many times I take people to see a house and they focus on the details and completely miss the big picture. So everyone who builds wealth has always been aware of, and they're thinking from the big picture first. The big picture comes first, the details come second. Another mindset of the wealthy is they're always asking questions. Here's a quote from Anthony Robbins. Quality questions create a quality life. Successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. And Albert Einstein said, if I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on it, I'd use the first 55 minutes determining the proper questions to ask. So I'm going to be covering some familiar information on this webinar. And there are two ways your mind can go, or two ways you can listen to it. First, you could make statements like, I've heard this before, this is not new to me, I've done this already, I know this already, and so on. Those kind of statements closes your mind down to the opportunity to create transformation. The second way, when you hear familiar information, is you could ask questions, such as, how can I use this? Or how can I modify this to fit my situation? Or where does this fit where I'm going now or what I'm doing now? Or who can support me in this area? Or what is missing that I need to add? Or when will I start on this? Questions open up your mind and allow answers to show up. And statements block the flow. If you want wealth to flow in, you want an open mind. So what I'm asking you to do is, if you hear some familiar information on this webinar, I want you to ask a question like, when will I begin using it? Or how can you use it? Oh, and by the way, don't waste any time with a why question. That's not going to produce any answer that helps you. So let's talk about why I'm doing this webinar. My Life is Good. My Wealth on Any Income book was an award-winning, best-selling book in 2002. I'm in great shape financially with a multiple six-figure passive income, and I get to do what I love. I educate and work with people in building wealth. And I can donate 100% of my business profits to charity. I live about 2 blocks from where Michael Jackson lived in Encino. It's a lovely suburb in Los Angeles with my wife and 3 dogs. But it wasn't always this way. I failed high school math, and I didn't believe I could accomplish much. I struggled my way through the insurance industry, learning more about investment products. I set up retirement plans for small companies through a pension plan I owned with 2 partners. I worked hard for every dime. Now, while I had a passion for helping others, I was not creating the financial success that was possible for me. It was like pushing that rock uphill. While I was not earning a lot of money, I was earning about $3,000 a month. The true frustration was being a certified financial planner and not knowing how to do a personal budget. So I read The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, the main point of this book is to pay yourself first, to treat yourself like you deserve to own some of the money you're earning. So I set aside 10% of my income, just like the book said, and 10 months later, I'd saved up $3,000. I was so proud of myself. It was the first time in my life I created a real savings account. But then when I did our income taxes, I owed $3,000 to the IRS. All that effort and all my savings were gone in an instant. That so hurt me and so devastated me that I didn't pay myself first for another 8 years. It seemed like the more money I earned, the deeper in debt I got. In 1992, I earned about $150,000, but I was in debt by $22,000 more than I earned. And all that stress took its toll. I had a business failure with an art gallery. I had 2 divorces. It was like I just couldn't create prosperity, even though I was smart enough and had all the book learning and the financial education, even way more than the average person. The turning point came when I looked at what my clients in the pension company were doing. I knew creating wealth was possible, but I lacked the keys. Then one day, about 8 years later, I reread The Richest Man in Babylon. It took that long to understand the missing piece. I could see how I set myself up to fail, and this led me to more books, seminars, and workshops, and this time I had the right mindset. This time it made all the difference in the world. I not only believed I deserved to own some of the money I'd worked so hard for, I had the right tools and the missing mindset piece to make it all work for me. Now my situation could transform. So I turned it all around. I studied the wealthy, their attitudes, the forms they used, and the investments they made. I learned their secrets, and I could put them into practice in my life. Instead of just book learning the details, I learned and absorbed the mindset and operated from the big picture. I built my investments around that and transformed my life. Now, with any income, even after the setback of 2 divorces, I was able to rebuild my wealth greater than what I had before. Now I have the freedom to do what I value and love to do. And one of my most rewarding things about my business and financial reality now is it's so attuned to my values, I'm able to donate 100% of my business profits to a charity. And the primary one is Shelter to Soldier. And so that's a picture of a dog with a new vet who's come back with post-traumatic stress disorder or traumatic brain injuries from his service. And that dog is going to save his life. And that dog was saved from a shelter. So the wealth has moved beyond me into doing something healing and beautiful for animals and vets who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. Okay, that's enough about me. Let's get back to why you're on this seminar. Are you sick and tired of being in a financial struggle all the time? And do your dreams feel like they're never going to happen? Well, let's bust another myth. Too many people believe that becoming debt-free has something to do with financial freedom or becoming wealthy, and it's completely wrong. It's like thinking if you diet, you can build muscles. But you know that's not true. If you want to build muscles, you have to lift weights. If you want to create wealth, you have to make investments. Focusing on debt elimination is a huge mistake. It just eliminates debt. It does not create wealth. Let me prove it to you. Now, this slide doesn't look very good, so I'm just going to try and explain it. Let's say you have $6,000 in credit card debt, and you have an additional $300 a month you can use to pay it off. So, choice one is pay off the debt. Choice two is investing that $300 a month and just keeping the debt and paying the interest on it. So, let's say in 2 years, you pay off the debt because that's what you chose, and then you'd start investing $300 a month after you paid off the debt. Here's the concept. You're paying 18% interest on a credit card, and you can earn 12% on the investment. Now, most CPAs would say you'll do better to pay off the 18% credit card because it's 6% more than you could earn on the money. And they're wrong when you look at the long-term damage. In just 10 years, it's the first set of bars on the graph, you're better off to keep the debt, pay the interest on it, and you'll have $10,000 more money in your investment account after continuing to pay interest on your debt. In 20 years, you'd have $48,000 more money in your investment account. And in 30 years, you have $197,000 more money in your investment account. In other words, paying off your debt first and waiting 2 years before you begin to invest, that same $300 a month means you lose out on $200,000 or almost $200,000 in investment earnings, even after paying the interest on that debt for 30 years. That's a bad trade-off. And for those of you that think 30 years is a long time, you must be a lot younger than me, because that time goes by really fast. And both the tortoises and the hares can play and win the wealth game. With a different strategy, you can create those results in 10 years, and it doesn't have to be 30 years. If you have to make a choice with the extra money you could use to pay down debt, like I said, you start an investment program first. Now, granted, every dollar you give to a creditor is $1 less you have to invest, but again, if you want to build muscles, which I equate to wealth, you have to lift weights. Dieting or paying off the debt does not build muscles. And paying down debt is like dieting, and you can do that later. You want to build wealth first. Now, it's important to have a plan to deal with debt. Why? If you have it, you know why. I don't have to explain about the stress that it causes. If you've removed the stress and the upset in the relationship, you've created an open space to move forward and create something better. It's like I said earlier, it's about mindset. The shame, the worry, the stress, the guilt around debt is like trying to run a race with a ball and chain. And I do want to support you to break those chains and move forward. So how does a wealthy person view debt? This is pretty simple. There's bad debt and there's good debt. Bad debt is a consumer debt like clothing, meals, vacations. Good debt allows you to buy items that grow in value and produce more in income than the interest expense. When I did business coaching and I helped business owners grow their revenue and net worth, I didn't care what they did for a living. They could be a CPA or a certified financial planner, and I'd still require all their financial information. I needed to know where they were starting before we could plan where they were going. The best example of this concept was a CPA who hired me to grow his practice. This was 20 years ago when earning $150,000 a year was earning a good living. But he also had $150,000 in credit card debt. After gathering his financial data, I asked him, "Do you want to get rid of this credit card debt?" And he said, "Well, yes, that's why I'm paying extra money on each card." So I had to reply, "You're doing this all wrong. I understand. You need to take all that extra money you're sending to each card and apply it to the one with the lowest balance." And when he did that, In the first month, he took all that extra money from the other cards he was paying. He ended up paying off 3 credit cards in full, again, in the first month. Now, how would it make you feel to wipe out 3 credit cards in 1 month? If you had them, I think that would make you feel pretty great. Well, that's how this approach works. Now, why is it important to do it this way? It gets back to the feelings. Now, he was a good CPA for his clients. He just thought rationally about their situation. But for his own money, he had lots of emotions around it. Your emotional benefit, the feelings you get that you're actually accomplishing something, is what will motivate you to continue to get rid of the debt. And that's what happened to him. Plus, we did grow his client base, his revenue, and his profits. Now, the first item on this slide makes sense. It feels good to pay off debt. But the second one may not make a lot of sense, or the whole answer, and that is that it increases your credit score. Oh, that makes sense. And it upsets creditors. That may not make sense. Well, here's time for another survey question. What would you say, or what would you use to describe someone who, when their credit card bill comes in every month, they pay it off in full? What kind of terms would you use to describe someone like that? Okay, someone acknowledges that's how they do it. Okay, responsible. Okay, we're getting frugal, intelligent, smart. Well, these all sound like positive terms, right? By the way, I have the answer to this question about how the credit card industry views people who do that, and it appeared in an article in the Los Angeles Times. The terms that credit card companies call this responsible, organized person who pays their credit card bill in full each month, they are called freeloaders and deadbeats. Now, that's something to aspire to. I mean, why would they call someone like this, or I think it was Debbie who says that's how she does it. Why would they call you disparaging names if you handle credit responsibly? Because they're only getting money from the merchant when you use the card, and they're not getting additional interest from you. So there are a few of us on this call, and we are proud to be known to the credit issuers as freeloaders and deadbeats. Now, let's stop talking about debt and talk about wealth. First, now I'm trying to get the slides to move forward again, and they're not. There we go. So one of the ways to create wealth is to spend money to do it, not budget. Why? Because budgets create the feeling of sacrifice, scarcity, and deprivation. Next, they require discipline that few people have. And budgets really have little to do with creating wealth. So, what do? Remember the attitudes of the wealthy and operating from their values? They spend money based on their values that produce the good feelings. They spend money in alignment with their financial goals. Unfortunately, a friend of mine who had a minimum wage hourly job thought it was more important to spend $300 on a designer purse. Well, this is 20 years ago, and that's all it would cost, rather than set aside any money for emergencies or for her future. Her desire was all about feeling pretty, feeling that she'd belong to the in crowd, and feeling accepted. Her goal was to get external validation. But that's not how wealthy people spend their money. If you read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, you'll see that the wealthy invest their money and spend based on their values. And it's hard to truly spot a wealthy person because external appearances won't let you know they're wealthy. They may not be wearing the Rolex watch or the designer clothes. Let me give you an example of spending money in alignment with your goals. when my wife asks for what I'd like for dinner, I say reservations. Now, while that might be a joke, I'm serious. I created a fabulous tool for tracking spending. And what I did with that is I noticed I had a surplus of funds in my grocery account and a negative amount in meals out. Excuse me. I'd much rather spend money on a restaurant meal than going to the grocery store and cooking at home. Why? Because I want to spend time communicating and connecting with my wife at the end of the day. When we were making a meal at home, we weren't sitting down and being with each other. We would be hopping up and down to get salt or a napkin or reheat something that got cold or get ice to make something cold. We weren't connecting. We were jumping up and down. But at a restaurant, we would order, we'd get our food and anything else we wanted. We could sit and connect. And we didn't have to clean the dishes, the pots, and the pans. I know other couples can connect while preparing food, but that was not us. I value my wife and communicating with her rather than saving a few dollars making our own food. That's identifying your values and spending money in alignment with them. Now, I've met people who have hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings, even millions of dollars in savings, and they're nervous, frightened, and frozen and don't know what to do to have that money work for them. I've seen so many people struggling with trying to get out of debt. They do the very best they can for their families, but they still feel like they're pushing a big boulder up a hill and feeling that they're really far away from achieving their dreams. Now, you may have investment opportunities or even a lot of money in the bank, but you're worried you're going to be like those lottery winners and lose it all. You may have consumer or credit card debt and you're embarrassed to talk about it. You just feel like it's a big struggle and you don't know the questions to ask. Well, that's why I created the Wealth on Any Income program. But before I share it with you, let me ask you a few questions. What would it be worth to you to feel more financially free than you've ever felt before? And how much time, energy, and money would you save if you knew all the strategies to guarantee your financial success? If I could give you a simple way to get out of debt or effectively invest your current assets and create actual wealth with a group of awesome people who will support you, what would that be worth to you? I don't know. If you've gone to seminars, taken classes, read books, but still haven't achieved what you want, let me know. So here's the opportunity. The Wealth on Any Income program is a group coaching and mastermind program based on the neuroscience, brain-based concepts of how we naturally learn. It is not confined to lectures and readings. It's not limited like this webinar is. Wealthinar. Oh my gosh, I'm coining a new term, a wealthinar. Excuse me while I write that down. So, the point is, this is an interactive approach where you will immediately apply what you learn and you're going to produce the results before you complete the program. You will create your unique path to financial freedom in a simple 8-week program. So here are the details. You'll discover in the first week what to do to get the most value from the program. In week 2, we focus on the mindset of the wealthy, deeper than what we've covered on this webinar. In week 3, you'll be guided to create your unique path to wealth and prosperity, whatever that means to you. And besides me, each week, you'll have support from the other participants in the course. In week 4, you'll discover one of the most powerful tools to use in business and personal finance. It's called the Spending Register. This is the tool I said I created. You get to measure the level of pleasure you get from where you're spending your money and confirm it's in alignment with your goals. And it only takes 5 to 10 seconds. You'll learn about the ways to create savings and investments that have worked to create wealth for 5,000 years. In week 5, You'll get the support to be sure you're on track with your goals. You'll get any questions answered that you have and adjust any of the actions you've taken. In week 6, you dive deeper into the ways the wealthy use debts to become rich and how to get off the treadmill of having to use credit cards. In week 7, you'll find out about the alternative products where the wealthy invest, which is like not limited to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. You could be earning 12% on an investment that only requires $2,500. Another investment that earns 10% for 40 years only requires a $250 investment. You'll understand and feel confident about transforming your lazy assets. And by week 8, you will have created your own personal path to wealth and abundance. You'll have started the process of eliminating your consumer debt if you have any, and you'll have started an investment program that fits you and your values. You'll have learned from the top thinkers and leaders in finance and had a good time with a supportive group of people. And you can continue to connect directly with them through our private Facebook group. So, more details. There will be homework between sessions. There will be support between sessions, whether it's by phone with me or other people in the group. You'll have the ability to connect by email. Again, there's a private Facebook group, so you can connect with each other. Confidentiality is required. I'm only having 10 people in this initial group, and already I have 8 people signed up with their applications and payments. So there's really only 2 spots left. In addition, you'll be signing a non-disclosure agreement. But there is a bonus. Your spouse, your mate, your partner can also attend for free. Now, I've worked with a coach with a lot of people, and there are a few reasons that they don't take action. And here's a few of them. And you've probably encountered this with people you've worked with, or you brought them up as your own excuse. Money. Just like my example earlier, where someone has a choice of paying $300 a month to reduce a credit card and sacrificed $200,000 in investment earnings, the investment in this program will pay off for you in massive amounts and for years to come, way beyond the initial investment. The wealthy make decisions from the long-term value, and so should you. Now, time is another excuse. We're all busy. If you don't do it now, thinking you'll be less busy later, it's just not realistic. I encourage you to be honest about your time and place the important transformational things in your calendar instead of the trivial. If you choose to enroll now, great. If you're not sure, then say no. Create completion and be honest and know you're really not going to do this later. Now, let me address a couple of really important reasons it could stop you. If you think you can do this by yourself, there are numerous studies that document when people try to change behavior by themselves, they have a 90 to 95% failure rate. And it doesn't matter if it's building wealth, getting out of debt, losing weight, or quitting smoking. If you've not yet done this on your own, then why would you think you'd be doing this on your own in the future? And that last reason that could keep you from taking action is the fear that you can't do it. This is why I asked earlier if you've tried other workshops or courses or suggested that. Because if you have and you haven't succeeded, you may have a fear that this will be just like the others and also not work. Let me address that. I've designed this program based on cutting-edge neuroscience and brain-based learning techniques that you would not have experienced anywhere else. After more than 20 years teaching this material with thousands of students, I have improved and redesigned it to fit the way the brain naturally works and learns. Again, this course is like no other because of the added brain-based approach to learning combined with the power of a mastermind. So you have the support and you will succeed. Now, After the input from the participants who are in this initial beta course, the investment will be $1,997. As I said, this is the beta version of the course. And for this seed launch, there's a catch. While it's only $497, I do require your full participation, a willingness and a commitment to support each other in the course. Plus, I'm looking for people who might be the future facilitators of this program. So that's why I'm only looking to have 10 participants. And again, at this point, there's only 2 spots left. So there's an application to complete at this investment level. So even if you register and pay, and then submit the application to participate, well, based on where you are and what you want to accomplish, you could be turned down, and I return your investment. But if you are accepted, there's also a guarantee. And here's my better than money back guarantee. If you don't love this program beyond measure, you can keep everything that you've done in terms of the material that I provide for free. If you join my program and you're not completely satisfied with the results you produce, and you don't realize a massive difference in creating a path to reach your financial goals, then you let me know and I'll refund your entire program for free on the spot. And again, you keep all the materials. It's the least I can do to make sure it's worth your time. So this is my better than money back guarantee. Let me leave you with one of these thoughts. The universe doesn't give you what you ask for with your thoughts. It gives you what you demand with your actions. Now, I've had a few people who've given me testimonials on my work. Here's one of them, Mark Victor Hansen. Not only did he say everyone, that includes you, can become wealthy, he purchased 100 copies of my book to give away. Hopefully you've also heard of Brian Tracy. He said, this is perhaps the most important subject you'll ever deal with. And Wealth on Any Income gives you the step-by-step roadmap to follow. You can achieve all of your dreams of financial freedom by putting these ideas to work. Now, let's forget about well-known people. How about just Dave the attorney? He said, based on your advice, we were able to eliminate $30,000 of short-term debt in 2 years with no increase in income. And here's the last testimony I'll put in the webinar. With Rennie's coaching, I've been able to set up an investment program putting away 15% of my take-home salary and 2% of our company's monthly gross receipts. And this has been effortless. Bruce, who was a building contractor, was able to increase his net worth by $600,000 in the 6 months that we worked together. So, on the next slide, we're going to talk about the link to the free gift. But if you want to register for this program, just simply go to wealthonanyincome.com launch, and that's where you can register for the program. On the next slide, you'll see the free attendance gift, which is again called 3 win-win ways for other people to help you create wealth. And if you stayed on this call, the link will also be sent to you by email. So hang around, because we'll have a few more minutes to answer any questions that you have. And again, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for spending it with me. Again, I respect it and I appreciate what you've done. And again, to register for the course, go to wealthonanyincome.com launch. And at the bottom, there's the link for the free gift. And again, it'll also be emailed to you. So now I'm going to open up the line for any additional questions. And let me stop sharing the screen. And I'm going to hit the chat box and see what's there. Thank you, Kat, for acknowledging that quote. I thought it was pretty cool too. Let's see, manage participants. I'm going to unmute everybody. And I am going to then see about Getting my, oh, there we go, start video. There we go. Now you've got me, I've got you. If you go down to the bottom left, you'll see where you can, hi Rita, good morning. Hi Michelle, Debbie, Kat, thank you for joining me. Now, does anybody have questions that weren't answered in the webinar regarding the program that starts? Oh, by the way, it starts next week, Tuesday, for 8 weeks. So what other questions do we have?
So is it March 8th it starts?
March 1st.
Oh, March 1st. So this coming Tuesday.
This coming Tuesday it starts.
Okay.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Hi, Diane. Good morning. Diane, do you have any questions? Gina, how about you? I've got quite a few people in the chat box. Debbie, any questions from you or Michelle?
No, thanks, Rennie.
No, you're welcome.
Is that 10 a.m. Pacific time?
Yes, it is. It's 10 a.m. Pacific time. And again, I mean, for this beta, it's really important to have everyone on those calls because it's creating a relationship with each other person. And listening to the recordings, you know, while that's great for an individual, it's not supportive to the other people in the group.
Is it every day?
No, it's going to be once a week
Once a
on
week.
Tuesday mornings for 8 weeks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now someone's got a lot of crackling paper in the background. So if you go down to the bottom, the far, far left, you can mute your own microphone. Great. I guess that was Debbie because then it got quiet. Thank you, Debbie. So it is now 10 minutes, 12 minutes to the hour. If anyone else has any questions, I'll answer them. And if I'm complete, and so if you want to drop off, you can. Again, I will provide a recording of this to anybody. Well, actually, I'll just send out a recording to everybody who registered. That'd be the best thing to do.
I had an intern.
Okay, anybody else have a question?
And she unplugged everything that had.
No? Okay. All right, well, thank you all for joining me this morning. Again, I do appreciate the time you spent. It's Sunday morning. You could have been doing anything else. So have a great rest of the day. And again, to register, you go to wealthonanyincome.com/launch. And then we'll send out the application for you to complete for the confidentiality and non-disclosure.
Is there a separate charger for this, or how does that work?
Ask me that again. Is there a separate what?
Yeah, there's like a docking station essentially that you put it on. And
I thought it was
that's just a bigger battery, but
Oh, I think that's to someone else. All right, I'm going to end the recording and have a great day, everyone.